Right. Good morning and good afternoon, Lab Coat Agents. Josh Zollinger here, one of the moderators on Lab Coat Agents, here to present Mark Kohler along with admin Mel Parsons from Seattle. We're here to talk about PPP and the PPP loans that we've talked about multiple times here. Since we've been on here last, there's been multiple changes. Congress has gotten involved. There's also, we're looking at a deadline of tomorrow for the PPP loan. A lot of great things to talk about. And we have our, again, Mark Kohler, CPA attorney extraordinaire, here to let us all know what we need to be doing here in these last couple of days and over the next couple of months to, especially for a key part of that in trying to get that loan forgiveness. So without further ado, Mark Kohler.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I thought Mel was going to do most of the talking. Mel, I'm going to turn the time to you.
That's great. I got this down.
All right, we got to keep this light. Well, I'm going to rely on both of you, Mel and Josh, to ask some questions. We'll go back and forth. We've got a chat line going down below in Facebook and Zoom. I think Jake in the technical box is going to let us know when questions come rolling in. Mel and Josh, if you try to kind of combine questions and also let us know the first name and where they're coming in from, I'd love it. But this webinar is for you, the lab coat agents, and this is a tricky topic. And I know so many of you are thinking, my accountant will just take care of it, or my spouse will, or my lawyer, or it'll just mysteriously happen. I know you. I've been working with realtors for 20 plus years. My daughter's a realtor. I just had a conference call with her this morning, and I love the realtor clients we have from around the country. You're so good with people. You're so good at sales, but worrying about some of these numerical pain in the butt equations is not your strong suit. And that's okay. That's okay. But please take some notes today. I want to make it simple, what the checklists are that you need to have, some deadlines, and how to hold your professionals accountable. Because I know you're going to want to delegate this, and that's cool, but you got to make sure the person you're delegating it knows more than you. And at the end of this webinar, you're going to know more than 90% of the accountants and lawyers out there. And it's because many accountants and lawyers are not specializing in this. They're worried about tax returns right now, lawsuits, corporate filings, all those other things they do on a day-to-day basis. At our law firm and accounting firm, we ponied up in mid-January, February and said, we're going to have to know this. We're going to help our clients around the country. So I've got articles on this down below. Those will be in the chat window as well. And we're going to do a bunch of Q&A and hopefully help you out. So there's my intro. Josh, Mel, anything else you want to add to that? We good? All right.
Good. We're good. Let's go for it.
Okay. All right. First deadline. I'd say I've got my little monitor here, so I see what, but I want to be looking at all of you primarily. So I can see Josh and Mel down here. So you guys wave at me and get my attention if you've got an important comment or question. Okay, point number one for everybody. The triple P. We don't want to call it PPP anymore. I feel like I'm taking my kids to the bathroom or something. Okay, this is triple P, Paycheck Protection Program. This was a forgivable loan, of course, that you've heard about in the news ad nauseum, and you're sick of it, I know. But for many of you that got the loan, getting it forgiven is now paramount. And it's easier to get the money than it is to get it forgiven, as you can imagine. So that's what we're up against, is this loan that you can get forgiven. Now, for those of you that did not get the loan yet, you have approximately 36 hours, maybe even less, because you have to work through a bank, and application deadline is tomorrow, June 30th. That's it. So if you want to get this, let me tell you right now, and Josh, Mel, any questions down below or anything you want to vet this with, you do not go to the SBA website. You go to the bank. You go to a local bank and say, I need to get my application in. I will tell you now, if you go to Wells Fargo or Chase or B of A or some massive, huge bank, not that they're bad, they're not going to maybe take you or want you. Most of them have shut down their portal for this. They've moved on. I know that many of you got misdirection at the beginning saying, well, I'd never qualified, or my bank couldn't take me, or you got some weird news. Reevaluate. You got 24 hours where I want you to hear again maybe some of the parameters so that you can know if you got the right amount, which is going to be our step one in getting forgiveness. And if for some of you that are still thinking of applying, I want to answer those questions too. So that's step one. It really is.
Mark, just to clarify here, so the deadline tomorrow, that deadline is to apply for the triple P, correct?
That's right.
If you want to get the forgiveness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because for forgiveness, yeah, for forgiveness, you got possibly till the end of the year, depending on your situation. But to get the money, right, Josh?
Perfect. And then have you seen credit unions doing any of those loans?
Yeah, that's where I got mine.
Okay. Awesome. So, okay, there's a couple of questions on here, and Mark, and as people are kind of going through, starting to get some of their loans right here, maybe they've had it for a little bit. What would be? I'd also love to hear a little bit of best practices of, once you get this money, like, okay, you don't go, I just got an RV, didn't use my PPP loan, but I would love to hear some best practices, and once people get the money, how to do it to help get towards forgiveness the easiest.
Okay. Now everybody taking step, I'm going to start to create a list of what we want to review at the end of this webinar. Number one is be aware of the deadline, and that's for the application if you want the money. If you apply tomorrow, you could have money as early as the end of next week. It goes that fast. It's really powerful. The amount you can get, we're going to talk about in a minute. Number two, I want to make a distinction about the difference between triple P and EIDL. Oh, thanks, Janae. And we're going to start with the rock star. Let's make sure you all feel the power. Oh, yeah.
Is this sponsored, Mark?
I wish. I am really trying to get sponsored by Rockstar because I'm the only rock star in the accounting legal world for you, the Main Street business owner. I'm trying. So.
I have always wondered. I've watched so many webinars with Mark, and he has incredible energy, and now I have understanding.
Yes, yeah. Now this is pure energy, no carbonation, no sugar, 10 calories. How could you not love that? So for any of you that want to try it, this is my favorite one, the Recovery Rockstar. All right.
So this is good. You're going to just do a little touch on the difference between EIDL and triple P, because we do have some questions about that.
So here it is. Now I'm going to Janae, let's zoom out. Let's get the whiteboard rolling. And I'm going to thicken up my pen here so you guys can see it a little better. And she's going to focus that in. Okay, everybody. Some of you may have gotten an email in the last few weeks. I still have texts from clients over the weekend that said, I just got an email from the SBA and said they have a loan for me. That is different from the PPP. Some of you may thought it was a scam. So there's two main plans, the PPP and the EIDL. The EIDL is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This has two parts where you can get the $1,000 per person of employees, and it's a grant and you don't have to give it back, or there's a loan that can go up to $150,000. You apply for this on the SBA site. If you do get the loan, it's over 30 years, 3.75% interest, no credit check, no personal guarantee. Did you hear that? Boom. Now this is a sweet loan, but you do have to pay it back. It is not going to be forgiven. And you have to use it for operational expenses, not to buy a rental property, not to pay off debt, and not to put in a new swimming pool or buy a cabin. It's got to be for your business. But if you get this email from the SBA, you could have money within 3 to 4 days. You have to say, yes, I want it. You're going to sign loan docs online, and they're going to put this money right in your bank account. It has nothing to do with the bank. You're going to do that directly through SBA. You can go to the SBA website and apply right now. Go to the Coronavirus Relief tab, and you're going to fall right into it. It's about a 3 or 4 page app. It should take you 15 minutes. If you get that email, do it or don't. I don't care. It's up to you. That's EIDL. The payroll protection program is the one that can be 100% forgiven, and you apply through your bank. So that distinction is very important. All right, now I'm going to move, as Josh said, and Mel, unless you have another question, I'm going to say step one in this process of the PPP. If you have a question, anybody, about the EIDL, you throw it down there. I'll come back to it. but it's really quite straightforward. Think of it like a home equity loan that you have to use in your business, or a credit line in your business, and you got to pay it back, yada, yada. That's that. Okay, now the payroll protection program. If you're going to go apply in the next 24 hours, and for all of you that already have it, Mel, you said you got it. Josh, you got it, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So people are kind of asking on that. So if you are banking with Chase or Wells Fargo, or, is there a bank that you've seen success with and maybe last minute?
If you're going last minute, go to your most local bank you can find. A credit union, State Bank of Oklahoma, or West Valley, Mississippi Bank. Just go to a local bank, because they're going to be more agile, nimble, and quick. Walk in and tell them how much you love them. Tell them you'd love to bank here. You need to see their loan officer, and you need a PPP loan. If they say, well, we don't do them. Okay, thanks, bye. Or you can't have one, it's too late. Say, thanks, bye, and go somewhere else. Bankers are not always accurate. I want to verify for you, this is in the code. This is absolutely the truth. I'll stand behind it, Scout's honor. You have until tomorrow at bank's closing to get your application in. Just find a local bank. Now, if you want to try with the big banks and get an application in digitally, if you make the deadline, that's cool. Just go anywhere. And it doesn't have to be a bank in your town. It could be a bank in another state.
Yeah, if you're an urban dweller like me, going out to the small town, that thumbs up on that. That is very productive.
Very good. And I know a few people have said that they can go to, excuse me, I started looking at questions and I got thrown off. Some people have gone to some online portals that have, and I can't remember some of the big ones right now, that have done
like
a lot of—
Lendio or Cabbage?
Yeah, Cabbage has been has worked really well for a lot of our clients. So I get over to Cabbage, and if they're saying we're doing apps until 5 o'clock tomorrow, freaking go there.
Yeah, PayPal also, people have had great results with doing it on PayPal.
Okay, good. Okay, now I just want to point out also that I live in Idaho and I'm this tan, and Josh lives in Southern California and he's that white. I just want to say, I don't know what the thing is.
Lighting.
Just keep that in mind.
There's some rumor about you in Orange County.
Yeah, we do have my wife's down there now. We have a little place down there to go when it's cold up here. Okay, now here's how the PPP works. Step one, everybody, enough messing around. And I see some questions on EIDL. I'm going to come back to it, but let me get step one out here on the PPP. Every client, or we're taking clients, we have consultations with clients every day. So I'll give you our phone number later. But with our consultations with our tax attorneys, and we're helping clients nationwide, they don't have to be current clients. We'll do an hour with you and just help point in the right direction. Probably 40% of the people that come into our consultations, their number was wrong to begin with. Their PPP application, they got too much money or too little money. And it's not their fault. It's not your fault, people. The SBA was a moving target that first month and a half. Congress was throwing out more money. It was mayhem, right? Banks were trying to figure it out. It's okay. But when it comes to forgiveness, your forgiveness application has to be tied to what you should have got, not what you did get if it was wrong. You can get in big trouble for trying to, ooh, I got the wrong amount, but that's okay. I'm going to spend it all on payroll. No. If you get audited on this and the SBA catches that, you're going to have problems, which can be criminal. So we've got to be careful there. So here's how it works. There's really, now just remember this, this is recorded, and you'll be able to get this through your Lab Coats portal. Is that right, guys?
Yep.
Everything's recorded.
So you want to remember this. If you went for the PPP, now this is step one, you can pencil this out yourselves, people, or get a consultation from someone. There's no deadline for this. It's only if you haven't got the money yet. The deadline for getting forgiveness could be till the end of the year. So I have clients already ready to go get forgiveness, but just hang with me here. You want to get a consult with your professional or our officer somewhere and double check your original application. You may spend $200 or $300 on it. That's okay. Get that second opinion. Here's what it should have looked like. If, and this is 100% of lab coat agents, either they're a sole proprietor or they're an S Corp. And you go, well, I'm an LLC. Fine. Are you an LLC taxed as an S Corp? Or are you an LLC as a sole proprietor? An LLC doesn't change the equation because an LLC can be either one. So I need to know, did you file a Schedule C in 2019? Or did you issue yourself and do the W-2 K-1 split, which I've been teaching for years, and it'll save you thousands. And when the dust settles, Lab Coats has already said, Mark, we got to have you on and explain that. But right now it's about PPP. So I think Josh, Meg, Mel, sorry, I called you Meg. We have a good friend named Meg. We were just talking about her before the show. Mel and Josh, I think if I remember, Tristan was saying probably 60 to 70% of Lab Coat agents are over here on the sole proprietorship side. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Okay. So if any of you went for an application, here's what it looked like. And I'm going to just tell you, this is just and if you see this and go, that's weird, I didn't do that, then you need to really, really make sure you get a second opinion. What you did is, number one, I'm going to check them like little boxes. You had to have a 2019 return. If you haven't got your 2019 tax return done yet, you've got to walk into the bank with it. So you may be up tonight on TurboTax, getting it knocked out, or go to H&R Block this afternoon, then go to the bank tomorrow. You had, and I'm going to make that a little clearer, must have 2019 return, must have 2019 return. Okay, then you're going to go to look at your Schedule C. That's your profit on the business. That's going to be at the bottom line. What was your net profit? And then you're going to take that number and add to it any payroll of outside employees, not yourself, but anybody you had on a W-2. 90% of Lab Coat agents that are in this column, you don't have outside employees. It's just you, which is fine. But you're going to take your Schedule C profit plus any outside employees, and if you paid for their health insurance. So I'm going to put employees, W-2, gross payroll, plus any healthcare premiums you paid for them. Now, there's a couple other items that are very, very small, but we're going to leave it at that. Whatever that number is, you're going to add all that up. Whatever that is, you're going to divide it by 12 and times it by 2.5. That's it. Now, the maximum amount you can get is 100,000 plus whatever you paid some employees. So 90% of you, the most you could have got was going to be this $100,000 figure. So if we go to our calculator here and we take $100,000 and divide it by 12 and times it by 2.5, that's 20,833. The max, and you could have gotten, if you didn't have outside employees, was 20,833.
If you're paying your employees 1099, that's not included in this.
That's
correct?
not included.
Salaries.
1099 subs do not account.
Got it.
Now, here's what's the problem, people. You're going to go, Mark Kohler, you're wrong. My bank said it was included. Nope. On the original SBA application, it asked you, were you a business and had 1099s? I don't know why they put it on the application. They were just trying to help you figure out if you were a business or not, and it screwed up thousands of applications. So your 1099s that you paid anyone are not in this math. Now, if any of you are a sole proprietor with no employees and made money last year and got more than 20,833, you probably have a problem. And so we've got to figure that out when we go to your application. Last point, if you're an S Corp, you're going to add up your payroll that you paid yourself plus healthcare premiums for you and or your employees. I'm going to put your payroll plus healthcare plus any other employees. And your tax return doesn't have to be done for last year. All we're going to do is take your payroll for yourself, gross payroll, plus healthcare premiums, plus any employees' gross pay, plus their healthcare premiums, and any 401k matching you did. And we're going to add that up. And whatever that number is, we're going to divide by 12 and multiply it by 2.5. Now, this is where people were getting hundreds of thousands of dollars because they had big payrolls. They had lots of employees. And the government was like, we want to give you money to get those employees back to work. So point number one is verify you got the right amount. And if something seems weird based on what I just mentioned to you, that's even more of an encouragement to get the right figure. All right, let's maybe do some questions, keep our people engaged. And also I want to answer questions for you. Then we're going to go to step 2, which means how do I do my application and what gets forgiven? And I'm going to go through the math, and it changed. It's no longer 75%. It's a 60% figure, which is good. And we went from 8 weeks to 24 weeks. So there's some big updates I've got to give you, but let's do some Q&A.
Right. So we have some questions. Somebody said they were declined for an idle loan because of their credit. You're saying that credit shouldn't be a consideration for that, correct?
That's right. You should have, now I want to be transparent with you. I don't want to sound like a know-it-all. Everything we've been told from day one is that the idle loan had nothing to do with your credit. You apply with this 3 or 4 page form, they email you and tell you how much you got. If you applied for a 504 or some other type of SBA loan, your credit matters. And so there has been some confusion where people went and applied for a different SBA loan and they really didn't do the idle application. Number 2, when you applied for that little idle grant of $10,000, that was your actual application for the idle loan. That was it. They only asked for like 2 or 3 numbers. And so on the face of it, everything that we were told and everything, I had clients with terrible credit getting an idle loan. But what was weird, Josh, Mel, this will, literally over the weekend, my credit, because I do credit monitoring, all of us should, whoever you work with on your credit monitoring, said, hey, the US SBA did a credit inquiry on you in April. And I was like, what was the SBA doing checking my credit? I don't know if it was the bank for the PPP or if it was, because the bank submitted it to the PPP, but I've got people with bad credit and getting the idle and the PPP. But then I had, again, the SBA do an inquiry on my credit. So I'm sorry, folks, but I'm telling you, if you got rejected, go apply again, for crying out loud.
I mean, it could be, they could be looking for maybe bad US debt, bad student loan debt, other things besides a credit score.
Oh, that's true. That's true, everybody, because if you're a deadbeat dad or mom and have back child support, or you have student debt and arrears, you were not able to get some of these loans. I can't quote the technical point, but that could have been the inquiry, Josh. But
okay, yeah, because I've seen people say they had a friend in bankruptcy who received it, and I don't think the credit score should have mattered. So
now, do you care? I might be able to, faster than you saying it, just burn through a couple of these. Samantha, can you get the grant without the loan? Oh, sorry, you guys can all hear me. I know we've got colorful bars here. It's
yes,
just a battery issue. Talking. You can hear me though, right?
Yep.
Okay, don't stress. Okay, Sam, we've ordered a cord to solve that problem, and with COVID, it's been back ordered for a month and a half. It's driving us crazy. Okay, Samantha says, can you get the grant without the loan? Yes, you can. So any of you that did the idle grant, the $1,000 per employee, you can get that. Now, if you do get that and the PPP, it reduces your PPP by that number. So you'll end up paying back the grant if you get the PPP. But any of you that got the grant and then you got the email that said, oh, by the way, we approved you for a loan of $40,000, you can say, I don't want it. And you keep the grant. Okay, Susan says, so if we receive too much money based on incorrect figures, what is the penalty we can expect? Great question, Susan. All right, now I want to say this to everybody. Let's say here's your PPP loan bucket. Here's what you should have got. So let's say you should have received $20,000. Let's try to go with the group of, most of you are going to be in that range. So let's say you got a PPP of $20,000. Sorry, that's what you should have got. But you received, let's say $30,000. Maybe your accountant or the bank included some 1099 people and all that. What you should do, Susan, is figure out what you should have got and do an application for that amount. The difference you give back when you make your application. Just give it back. And if you say, well, Mark, I don't have the money.
Mark, you're referring to the application for forgiveness, correct?
Yes. So
okay, yeah, and we haven't even gotten there yet today.
Yeah,
okay.
We're going to come to this application for forgiveness, but if you have got too much money and you shouldn't have, you want to give it back. The penalty, Susan, if they can prove that you were fraudulent or you knew better or anything, it is, and it can be a criminal and civil penalty. So that's not good. So anybody that's in the difference. Now, some of you are going to say, well, Mark, I'll spend it on payroll. Doesn't matter. You got too much money and shouldn't have. And if you don't give it back when you apply for forgiveness, that portion, you could have some big problems. If you can't give the money back, you don't know what to do next, you're scared, concerned, get a consultation with your professional. Our office, I'll give you our number. You can talk to one of my tax attorneys and they'll give you 2 or 3 strategies that have risk. So, and it's a big conversation. Okay, let's get back. We have a friend in bankruptcy who received an EIDL loan. That's right, Ida. That's crazy, right? Someone in bankruptcy got the EIDL loan. You can do it. It should not be based on your credit. Can our salary increase over last year and still be okay? The answer is no. So if you paid yourself, I'm going to come back to that because I know Mel's like, Mark, you haven't even got to the application. Let me see if I can answer some quick, easy ones. I'm going to start at the top. There's an article by me right at the top. People go read it. It will help you out. The application for forgiveness is not tomorrow. It's the application to get the money. I want to repeat that because that's a very important point if you joined us late. If you don't have any other realtors working for you, you're alone working in a franchise, can you put in for a PPP? Yes, Rana. Anybody out there, you can apply for the PPP. We just have to find out, were you a sole proprietor last year or were you an S Corp? And Rana, I have a feeling you were a sole proprietor. I need your 2019 return. What was your profit? Divided by 12 times 2.5, you're freaking in the money. Done. So Rona, you want to look at this really quickly in the next 36 hours. PayPal was amazing in getting my PPP process. I applied at 5 p.m. on a Thursday, loan documents to me at 8 a.m. on Friday, signed and loan funded in my bank by 10 a.m. the next Friday. I'm not assuming the same day, but Donna, if that's true, amazing. So PayPal people may be where you want to go tonight or tomorrow. What if you applied and they said you don't qualify and resubmit in 30 days? PayPal. That's weird. One of the reasons you may not qualify is they're going to ask you, did you do your 2019 tax return? If you say no, they're going to say, well, you can't get the money because we got to verify this on your 2019 return. So Ken, that's a reason why they may have kicked you out and said, go get your 2019 return and come back. I used PayPal over the weekend. It took 2 days. Bettina. Grace, Chase Bank is closed for application. What should we do? Head to PayPal, it appears. Can you apply through more than one place? No. Well, you want to hear a scary one? I've gotten several calls over the last 2 months. People went and applied at 3 banks because they worried they weren't going to get the money. And they got 3 PPPs. Is that crazy? And they're like, what do I do? I'll just spend it. No, you don't go spend it. So I said, the 2 banks, you're going to give the money back right away. And the 1 you're going to keep. So anyway, so you only want to apply at 1 bank. And Ken says, I have known many who applied at multiple places. If you did, but you only took the money from 1 place, that's okay. They didn't want you to do that because it created more paperwork and problems at the SBA. But as long as you only took money once from some place, I can live with that. But if you applied at multiple places, be careful. Because on the application, it says, did you apply at more than 1 place? And if you're saying no, you just lied on the application. This is what pisses off the SBA. Dia says, is it 1,000 for EIDL or 10,000? It's 1,000 per employee. So last year, if you were the only worker, you're going to get 1,000. If you had 5 employees last year, you're going to get 5,000. If you had 15 employees last year, you're going to get 10,000. It's capped at 10,000, 1,000 per employee. Ida says, you can't pay off debt with the idle. Nope. You can make debt payments, regular monthly payments for debt you may already have in your operations, but you can't throw down and pay off a lot of debt. It's in the loan agreement. Don't do it. If I pay off idle in less than 12 months, are you charged interest? Michelle, that's a good one because the payments are deferred for 12 months, but the interest is supposed to start accruing immediately. So now I'm going to say something on a personal note too. A lot of people are like, Mark, I don't want to take this loan because if I use it for something I'm not supposed to, I'm going to get in big trouble. And my business hasn't been affected yet. But do you know if it might be affected still? What's going to happen this fall? Did you see the news today? COVID cases are up in 47 states. I'm sorry, I'm going to say about 40. I looked, they had a map with all the colors. It looked about like 3 states weren't going up. But I know the East Coast was more dense and there was a few good states in there. But people, what's going to happen this fall? Could your business be impacted this fall? If you're not sure, get the idle loan, put it in a separate bank account and don't touch it. Now, Michelle, interest may accrue, but they're not going to offer this loan to you twice. So if you need it, go get it, put it in the bank, and it's your rainy day fund. If at the end of 12 months, you got to give it back or you don't need it, stop, fine. It costs you a little bit of interest, but don't you want that safety net? Okay, Mel, Josh, anything, or should I keep burning through a few more and then we'll get to forgiveness?
One thing you touched on there, once you get the funds, and this is something I want people to understand, especially people getting their money here very soon, you said to put it into a separate account. Any other guidance and you know, I guess read your article that's posted here on Facebook and on the Zoom. Okay. Forgiveness and preparing for forgiveness. Any other hints?
Yeah, Josh, good question. People, what I was just talking about, and I need to slow down. There's just so many questions here. The idle loan, put in a different bank account because this one is sacred money. You've got to use it for business expenses only, and you got to pay it back. So I want a clear record of where you pay bills out of that account. Get a separate debit card for it. Get another checkbook for it. And that money is there as a rainy day fund when you're affected by COVID to use it to pay bills. Any ordinary business bill, but you can't pay yourself more money, and you can't pay off debt, and you can't buy a rental property, but operational expenses. But Josh, on the PPP, I'm okay dumping that into your operation account. Many of you have already spent the money. I'm okay with that. We're going to talk about how to get it forgiven here in just 2 seconds. I'll hurry and wrap up a few more questions.
I've seen a few people ask questions regarding using the funds for like investment properties or investments. That's no.
Yep. Do not use the idle loan for investment. In the PPP, you're not going to get forgiven if you don't use it for payroll. What about online portals? Ken, go check them out. I'd head to PayPal. Okay, now Jeannie says, I got an offer for 78 grand, but I'm collecting unemployment. How does this money affect your unemployment? Oh boy. Okay. Woo! Another big one. If any of you are collecting unemployment and you got the PPP money or the idle money, you've got several hurdles to cross. First, you cannot pay yourself out of PPP money and take unemployment at the same time because the PPP money implies you're working. Well, you're like, but I'm not making money. Doesn't matter. You're working. Well, I have another job, but I got the PPP for my business, but I'm unemployed over here now, but I still have my, doesn't matter. If you're not sitting on your couch watching Netflix, you're not unemployed. So don't go get unemployment if you're going to keep working your business. And if you take PPP and unemployment and they find out, big problems, possible, again, criminal. And this is, the states are very upset about this. They don't want you coming in for unemployment if you got PPP money and you're paying yourself. Now, it's not bad to pay yourself. There's going to be limits. We'll come to that in a minute. But you can't give yourself a raise compared to last year, but you can pay yourself. But you can't claim unemployment and pay yourself. Does that make sense? You're employed. So if you're on unemployment and you're in this quagmire and you're like, Mark, I already did it, get an attorney-client privileged conference call with one of my tax attorneys and talk to him about it. And I'll give it to you now. And this is not an infomercial, but if you need a resource, in our team, we have 5 tax attorneys that are helping clients nationwide, $300 for an hour. It's usually a little bit more when we're doing advanced planning, but we've discounted it for PPP consultations. But call the office, 435-586-9366. And any of the 5 attorneys meet with them for 1 hour and explain your heartache. The bank jacked it up. My accountant's an idiot. I took unemployment. I don't know if I used the money right. What do I do next? If you go out on the web and start reading articles, you're going to search until you find the answer you like, but that doesn't mean it's right. Our consultation, we stand behind it, and if we're wrong, we're in trouble. So get with someone, if not us.
$300 is a cheap insurance policy to make sure that you're not messing up here.
Yeah. Bettina says Cabby just stopped. So there you go. Maybe head over to PPP. Someone said I received, okay, now here, Linda says I was denied the EIDL due to my credit report. There may be something weird on your credit report. Here's one last thing, and then we're going to move on because it's 12:40 already, my time, and we're trying to finish at the top of the hour. Let me say this. Everybody here, if you have concerns about why didn't I get the EIDL? Why did they check my credit? Why can I apply again? Anything to deal with this EIDL, call the SBA. Do you know they have been wonderful? And don't call them up and chew them out. It's not like you're calling the IRS. These SBA employees have been wonderful. They are working overtime. They are trying to help you get the money. They are not jerks. And they even have a chat line at sba.gov that I've used too. They've been great. So just call the SBA. And I had a client last week during a webinar like this, call the SBA, and the SBA said, oh, no, it looks like in the system you're approved. I'm going to send out another email. And that happened during the webinar, just like this. So call the SBA if you have problems. I can't guarantee you're going to get the nicest person, but I hope you do. Okay, I'm going to do this. Let's go to forgiveness. Now, John, I'm going to use John as an example here. And then we're going to use maybe 3 examples. John here says, I got $6,136.88 in my PPP. All right. So he got, I want to write it down accurately for everybody here. $6,136.88. $6,136.88. Okay. I hope that's okay, John. You threw it out there. So we're gonna look at this. So here's his PPP. Now, and I'm assuming John, is a male. I've never met a girl named John, so I'm just going to go with this. Okay, so John, I'm glad you did not have an adronymous name. That would be very embarrassing. Okay, like Adrian. It always throws me off, you know, guys. Okay, Mel, look at Mel. Now, Mel's probably short for Melanie, Melissa.
But I don't put my picture on my signs, just in case they think they're getting a 60-year-old dude when they call. But I don't mind.
Okay, there you go. All right. Now, here's what you get forgiven, everybody. The old rule was you had to apply forgiveness within 8 weeks. Now, you have 24 weeks to do it. That's the newest law change, and I want you to know that. Number 2, you have 60% has to be payroll, not 75%. So in this example, we're going to do some math here. Now we have to, let's do step 1. So John, how much should have been payroll? I'm sorry, how much should have been his PPP application? Because we can back into it. So if I take 6136.88 divided by 2.5, oh, sorry, yeah, 6136.88 divided by 2.5, that gives me 2454. So 2454 times 2.5 gives us his PPP amount. So if I multiply that by 12, his profit, or on a Schedule C last year, must have been 30,000. Well, let's be accurate, 29,457. So after all of his write-offs, Here's his number. Then he divided it by 12 and then multiplied it by 2.5, and he got this. That's how he got his PPP. So what I would do with John is I'd say, okay, let's look at your 2019 tax return. Was that about your profit? Yep, that was it. Okay, he got the right amount. Now, if he said, well, Mark, I only had 15,000 in profit, but I paid a 1099 person and my banker added it to the mix. Oh no, now John got too much PPP and he's not going to be able to get that forgiven without committing fraud because he's going to end up lying on this. So he's got to be careful. So let's say you got 61,000. Now in this mix, which is really, really nice, and it's tricky. Oh my gosh. On the PPP application, you have to say, how much can John automatically get forgiven? And you guys are going to hate this, but this is the math. The loan amount, you ready, Mel, Josh? The loan amount you get is based on your profit divided by 12 times 2.5. The amount you get forgiven is your profit divided by 52 weeks times 8. Oh, well, that's only $4,531.84. The amount forgiven is based on an 8-week period where the application was based on 2.5 months period. And when you do the math, there's a difference. So if we look at the difference here, John's going to be really bugged because he's not going to get $1,600 forgiven. And he's going to be like, what the heck? Well, you can get this amount forgiven for compensation for yourself. You cannot give yourself a raise, and anything for rent or interest on long-term debt payments or utilities, which includes cell phone. So, and those can be beyond the 8-week period. So between now and when John applies, all he has to do is spend $1,605 on other expenses that qualify, and John gets 100% forgiveness.
Nice.
Now,
what if John has a 401k?
If John had a 401k, whatever he put in the 401k for matching last year, he could do the same match this year and add that to it. Josh, it's so rare that in this range that people are not doing that a lot, so I didn't bring it up, but thank you for bringing it up.
It's in the questions, and I wanted to know too.
Okay, now everybody, let's try the math one more time with a simpler one. Let's say the amount you got in your PPP was $100,000. The general concept is you have to spend 60% on payroll to get the entire amount forgiven. And then anything else can be rent, interest on debt payments. And this could be a lease on a car even, and utilities. So 40% can be on this stuff, 60% has to be on payroll. The maximum amount you can pay yourself if you have an S Corp is $20,833. The maximum amount you can pay yourself on this side is $15,385.
What's the
Now,
time
John
period
may say, well, what the heck? That's the maximum amount I can pay myself, but that's based on your last year's compensation as a cap. So if you look at this, John says, well, I'm only getting $4,531 forgiven. Why can't I take the maximum of $15,385? It's because you is based on your profit last year of $29,000, and it's just the way the cookie crumbles. Now let me say something for all of you that are ready to tap out and just throw something against the wall. You're pissed. Here's a couple points. For 90% of you, the SBA released an easy application. In my article that I put at the top of this chat line, I have a link to the easy application. It is 2 pages long, really 1 page. It's with some numbers. It is very, very simple. And you qualify for this if in one of 3 ways. I'll list the 3. Most of you are going to qualify. It's an easy application. That's why you call it easy. But you have until December 31st to fill it out and submit it. And you want to meet with someone that's doing this all day long to help either prepare your app for you, like a tax return, or answer your questions if you really want to dive deep and get it done and do it yourself. And we'll help you go either way. We're going to be prepping applications for people all fall. Now, those 3 ways, and then we'll do more Q&A before the end of our show here. This is so easy. You qualify for the easy app if you are self-employed and have no employees. Josh and Mel just said that's probably 60 to 70% of you. Now, having a 1099 sub is not an employee. So if any of you are not processing W-2s for others and you're self-employed, you qualify for the easy app. You plug in how much you got, you plug in your maximum amount of forgiveness for yourself, you throw in any rent, utilities, and interest. Hopefully you tap it out, done, 100% forgiveness, end of story. If some of you are an S Corp and had other employees, you had employees but did not reduce their salaries during the COVID time, and you're back to full employment levels by the end of December, based on a mathematical equation we'll not get into today. If you didn't reduce anybody's pay and you essentially have the same number of employees by the end of the year as you did pre-COVID, you qualify for the easy app as well. You plug it in, you would fill it out. Now you have to attach support to prove your numbers, but that's it, done. So very, very easy. That's what the SBA is trying to do. And banks are even setting up online portals to fill out the application online. All right, in our last 10 to 15 minutes, Jake in the booth, I've got John on the mind here with this example. Jake in the booth said we could go over 5 minutes. So we'll go 15 minutes of Q&A. You guys, Mel and Josh, choose the questions you think are the most important that we haven't already answered.
I see 2 on Facebook that you probably can't see, Mark.
Okay.
Someone wants to know, can we put our monthly desk fees as rent and into that utilities?
No, only the interest portion of your monthly debt service. Only the interest.
Oh, no. As real estate agents, most of us are part of a brokerage and we pay a monthly desk fee, which is kind of your...
Oh, desk fee.
Yes.
Desk fee. I thought you said debt fee. I was like,
no, yeah, desk fees.
I don't think a desk fee is going to entirely qualify as rent. Now, what you might want to do with your broker is say, because the desk fee is also compensating for the name of the brokerage, right? And some other things that come with that. It's not just simply renting a desk.
Yeah.
But this is a good question, Mel. What I may do, and I'm not opposed to this at this point, so I'm just throwing out an idea, is you go to your broker and say, how much of that desk fee is rent? Could we call 1/3 of it rent and 2/3 of it? And say, for purposes of the PPP application, would you sign something like this? And the broker would say, well, you can't hold me to that if you just want to rent next year or something. No, just tell me how much of it is really considered rent and how much of it is a compensation for using the broker name. I think that would be okay. I'm open to that, but you better have it in writing from the broker and an allocation from a third party, not you going, oh, 1/3 of it's rent. No, you get your broker to actually sign a freaking letter of what they think is rent.
Yeah. And then a good follow-up to that is this 8-week thing still even in play? Like, does it have to be those 8 weeks of the rent and utilities, or can that go for the 24 weeks?
Okay. 8 weeks is still into play on several things. The biggest that all of you need to worry about is in calculating your own compensation. Let me explain. When they passed the 8-week to 24-week rule, even I was like, oh, this is great. Now I can pay myself all year long. The whole thing's going to be payroll. Woohoo! I'm done. Oh, they said all the other expenses are over 24 weeks, and even paying your other employees is over 24 weeks. But your pay to yourself is still an 8-week minimum or max, an 8-week max. So whatever you could pay yourself in 8 weeks under your application is the maximum amount you can forgive for your own compensation. But all those other expenses you can go beyond the 8 weeks and using. Did that help?
Yeah. So when is that 8 weeks? When does that start? Once you get the funds?
The day you get the money, the 8 weeks start. Right here in my own personal calendar, I wrote down the day I got PPP money, and then I went 1 week, second week, third week, because it's not business days or count. You literally count 1 week to the next Wednesday, to the next Wednesday, to the next Wednesday. And then I said, oh, here's my 8 weeks. And I've got to pay myself somewhere along the way a couple times because I'm an S Corp. So you got to process payroll. And then I said, oh, here's when my 8 weeks expires. Now, when they moved it to 24 weeks, I said, sweet, done. I don't need to worry about it. I already know that my maximum pay for myself is capped, but I'm going to wait until I burn the other 40%, and then I'll have a 100% forgiveness.
Very good.
Okay, by the way, someone asked, Kristen said, is line 31 of your Schedule C what you're looking for? Yes. Line 31 is where you want to be on your Schedule C. So if all of you are going to apply, and I said you need to have your 2019 return, you're going to look at line 31. And if I'll tell you right now, if you go to PayPal or some bank and say, I haven't filed my 2019 return, and you do their online application, you probably will get rejected. And you'll go, why did Mark say I wouldn't get rejected? I got 36 hours. Because one of the requirements is your tax returns freaking filed, because they don't want you to inflate that number on the app and then go really file and bring it down. Now you're in trouble again. You've committed loan fraud. So if you're like, well, Mark, I'm not going to have my tax return done by tomorrow, do your best, file it, and then amend your tax return legitimately. And be careful. You shouldn't see a 5 or 10% variance, but it's okay to amend your tax return.
All right, we have a couple of questions here with unemployment. Somebody said that they had received an EIDL for $16,000, also been receiving unemployment. Now, is EIDL okay to receive unemployment?
If you got the EIDL loan and you're paying operational expenses, meanwhile, you're taking unemployment, I still have concerns because that means the business is open and you're working. Here's what I would do, people. If you got the PPP money, if you got the EIDL loan, put them in the bank, shut down the business, take your unemployment, wait for COVID to pass in your area, wait for shelter in place to pass, whatever the freak's going on. California just yesterday said more bars had to reclose. I don't know what business you're in. Should get the bars back here. We're coming back, people. Thanks for your patience. So put the money in the bank. Josh, here, let's make this distinction. It's okay to get the PPP, and it's okay to get the EIDL grant and loan and claim unemployment. Just make sure you don't spend the money on PPP and EIDL while you're on unemployment. Because when you do, you're implying that the business is still operating. And even if you're not making money, it means you're employed. I'm sorry, my nose was itchy. I'm not, did not look good, but I'm just saying, I've got an inch here. Okay, now someone said I used the 2018 tax return instead of the 2019.
There's a few people saying that in the chat.
You're supposed to use 19. So I just hope that your 19 profit is equal to or greater than your 2018 profit, because that means you got a bigger PPP than you should have. right? If you had a bigger 2018 profit, you went and got the PPP on that, then you did a crappy 2019 return and didn't owe as much, but you got a bigger inflated loan. Do you think the SBA would be pissed? Do you think that's other average Americans that are going to help pay this $3 trillion back? You broke the rules. Is that fair for everybody? I don't want to go there. Okay.
I see a question that I love because I also have this question.
Okay.
This is on Facebook. Do you have to pay yourself evenly, weekly, bi-weekly, in that 8 weeks to get forgiveness? Will that be tracked?
Okay. Now, let's go through our two options, everybody. And I'm going to repeat Mel's question. How do you pay yourself? That's really the gist of it, right?
Yep.
And we got two groups, A and B. Group A, which is maybe we're estimating 60 to 70% of you, are Schedule C. Schedule C. Do you give yourself a paycheck, people? No. Do you pay yourself all the time, once in a while, every day, every month, whenever you get closing? That's right, right? You pay yourself when it makes sense. Keep doing it. Do not care. And the SBA said, that's cool. You got John, if we go back to John's example of $6,000, he can pay himself $4,000 anytime, any way he wants over the next 24 weeks. Does not matter. They're not looking for a W-2. They're not looking for a specific check to John. They're just going to say, there's your profit, there's your cap, the end. Okay, so there's no requirements of when, how, you're just capped based by an equation anyway. Okay, now for those of you that are S Corps, and I can pick on Josh because I know he is, and he's saving money with that S Corp. That's when you smile. You can cry a little. Testimonial. Okay, all right. I'm an S Corp. Mel, are you an S Corp?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we got our S Corp. Now some of you are like, what the freak? Why are they doing this? 30-second digression. If you're a sole proprietor, you may say, oh, it's so much easier. But if Mel makes 100 grand as a sole proprietor, she pays 15,000 in self-employment tax. What? Crazy, right? Not good. But if Mel is an S Corp and makes the same 100 grand, she's going to take out of that 100 grand, she's going to maybe take payroll of 40 grand and a draw or a K1 of 60 grand. She only pays the F word FICA on the 40. So now she's only paying 15% on $40,000 rather than 15% on $100,000. So that approximately is $6,000. She just saved $9,000 for being an S Corp. And I just know some of you in California are like, well, if I have an S Corp, I got to pay $800 minimum tax, and then I got to do a tax return. Okay, let me see. Yeah, it may cost you $2 grand a year for all that crap. Let me see. Spend 2, save 9. Now this is hard math, everybody. Spend 2, save 9. That's why we're freaking S Corps. Every realtor that makes more than 50 grand a year is an S Corp. So Mel is asking, well, how do I pay myself that 40 versus then and during this PPP? Mel, here's the tricky part. The way you normally do it is you're going to just pay yourself quarterly, right? You just do a quarterly report. You don't take a paycheck every week or every month, right? You just, on a quarterly basis, my team would call up Mel and go, hey, Mel, how much money did you make? I made $10,000. Okay, well, we're on a 40-60 split, so we're going to call 4,000 of that payroll, send in your deposit. And she's like, well, I already took the money. Fine. Do I need to issue a paycheck? No. But she's doing payroll reports quarterly. We charge $125 a quarter, $150 a quarter to do that. ADP, Costco, everybody has this service for S Corps. So that's what Mel and Josh and I do. We just do a little report every 3 months. Now, when this rule first came out, Mel, we had 8 weeks and we had to show this is 3 months times 4, this is 12 weeks. And I got my money somewhere in here and I had to spend it in 8 weeks. So everybody was freaking out, right? And I even issued myself a paycheck every 2 weeks just during those 8 weeks to be safe. But then what did Congress do, everybody, 2 weeks ago? They said, nah, it's too much of a headache, everybody. We'll give you till the end of the year. Just pay yourself as normal. So I was being safe, but then they changed the rules and made it easier. So Mel, the answer is you don't need to cut yourself a paycheck, physical paycheck. Just do your quarterly reports as you normally do. You know your maximum amount you can pay yourself is $20,833 in W-2 gross wages and get it forgiven. Now you may, in this example, you said, well, Mel's gonna pay herself 40 grand in this example. That's fine, but how much is the maximum she can get forgiven? $20,833 of her payroll. Then she's got those other expenses she can throw on top of it. All right. Shani says, do you need an estimate of the Schedule C if I don't have the return according to the most banks I looked at? I'm telling you, if you do an estimate, just make sure you're pretty darn close. And if you go for it, it's on you. I'm just saying the technical rules are it should be based on a 2019 tax return that's either accurate or filed. And I'll be honest, I guess, does it have to be mailed by tomorrow? No, but it better be the one you do mail. Mail, M-A-I-L. So you want to make sure that your tax return that you e-file or put in the mail in the next week or two doesn't change from what you put on your PPP application. And someone said, well, I already got my money, but I didn't do my 2019 tax return. Then do your 2019 tax return, figure out what your PPP should have been, and see if you have a discrepancy. And that is from Michael. So everybody, let me say this. Some of you are like, Mark, I didn't do any of this crap. I just went online and threw in whatever the heck I thought I could. I got the money. I've spent it. It's been a hell of a 4 months. Do you know how many times I hear that a day? I get it. Now it's time to go back and actually do your return, do the application according to all the rules that are far more clear now, finding out what you should have got and comparing to what you did get, and make sure they align. And if you got more than you should have, be ready to give it back. No harm, no foul, Michael. You're okay. But don't think I can just get it all forgiven because I was wrong on the application. Or here's a good one, my bank screwed it up, so it's okay. No, it's you that signed it. And on the forgiveness application, you re-verify. Some of you are like, well, Mark, the application was 3 months ago. It's water under the bridge. When you apply for forgiveness, you sign with penalties of perjury that I re-verified that my original application was accurate. That's why you're going to say, discrepancy, here's that money, I did the wrong thing. All right, I can keep talking. I'm loving this.
The expenses, I'm seeing a few people asking, so utilities and rent, let's see, I don't know if car leases are allowed in there. What kind of documentation people are going to need? Just an invoice for all of these expenses?
Yes, canceled checks, invoices. The more documentation you have, better. This is rent on a physical location. It could be equipment rent. It could be a lease on a vehicle. They just said any rent expenses. See, this is how, if you want a little side note, this is how the government was trying to help landlords. I know many of you have rental property. Some of you may have a commercial rental. Well, this is how the government was telling all your commercial renters, pay the rent. We'll forgive that amount. And that's what they were trying to do. So rent and lease payments, interest on debt, and utilities.
Medical insurance premiums, where would that go?
No medical insurance premiums on yourself. Only medical insurance on employees and not family employees. It's got to be third-party employees. So this is what you're looking for, people. Rent and lease, interest, utilities. Now, utilities include cell phone, internet, and in my business, all of my family members are on our cell phone plan because they all work in the business. This is why Mel has an S Corp too, because she's got her family on the board of directors. She's having quarterly meetings. Her books are in good order. Her kids may be on payroll. Her spouse may be on payroll. I'm assuming Mel's got all this family stuff going on. Tell us, Mel, you got 2 kids on payroll?
Yeah.
Or 2 husbands on payroll?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. No wonder. You're so calm because you got your husband's at work just making money for you.
I do have my husband on payroll and 2 kids. Yeah.
Good. Thanks for letting me joke around with you. Okay, I'll field any more questions until Jake tells you no more. Oh, let me say this while they're looking for their favorite question. Let's do that. Mel gets one more favorite question, and Josh gets one more good question. And while they're looking, I'm going to say this. Please look in the chat window. All the way at the top is my article on Entrepreneur Magazine. It is their #1 article on the PPP forgiveness. It's there. Go print it out. Go look at it. It's a great resource. There's even a webinar for an hour linked in the video, in the article. If any of you have questions, again, here's our phone number. Oh, someone said, Mark, I called KKOS and they said they were too busy. I don't know what they meant that day. You may have wanted a phone conversation right then, but we're making appointments about 6 to 7 days out, sometimes 10 days out, depending on how busy we are. So we're taking appointments. It just may not be today. So go do your application and then get the appointment to follow up. Margot says, is that a max amount, $20,883 for S Corps and not just sole proprietors? There's no max for S Corps? I'm going to answer that one. That was my favorite one. Okay. If you're a sole prop, the maximum comp you can pay yourself is $15,385. If you're an S Corp, your maximum comp for yourself is $20,833. I don't know why. I guess we could get into some technical reasons as to why the difference, but I hate to tell you that's the rule. So you got to live with it. Now, in my article, I explain more of it. And by the way, I'm going to give a disclaimer. If any of you are like, Mark, the law changed again 3 days ago. You're wrong. You're an idiot. Send me an email. I'm trying to keep up with this too. And in fact, my tax lawyers, my associates, they're consulting on this all day long. Many times we've got a group text where I'm like, hey, what do you guys think? Like, Mel, I'm going to use yours and go, hey, what if the broker says the desk fee is 20% rent or 30% rent? What do you think? And I have a feeling they're going to say, get it in writing, but we're working as a team. Okay, ladies first. Mel, your favorite question.
Well, my favorite one is just clarifying.
Okay.
As an S Corp, paying yourself on the PPP forgiveness,
Okay.
it no longer needs to be in the 8 weeks. We now have the 24 weeks.
I'm going to answer it this way. It's no longer that you have to actually cut yourself a W-2 pay stub within the 8 weeks. That's no longer required.
Okay.
But the maximum amount you can pay yourself, and you still need to go through that technical step of paying yourself with the W-2 and the 941, can be during the 24 weeks up to December 31st, but it's capped at what it would have been during the 8 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
So the math is based on the 8 weeks, but now you got the flexibility to pay yourself up until December 31st, up to the max that would have been in the 8 weeks. So I said it 2 different ways. Hopefully that helps.
Yep. Thank you.
Josh? I'm looking at my hair too. I'm going for kind of a Brad Pitt look. I like to talk about my hair when I'm with Josh because it just drives him crazy. But this takes work, Josh. Look how much more efficient every day you are.
Yes, I'm all about efficiency. No, I've asked a lot of questions along the way. Listen, I think we've hit most of the questions here.
Okay, I'm gonna hit Kristen's. She says, declined on PPP online. Maybe I did it wrong. Okay, I'm gonna pose a question for Mel. Where does Kristen go to apply for PPP?
She needs to go to a bank, a credit union.
That's right. Kristen, you could have never got a decline for the PPP online. Oh, now maybe you meant online with a bank. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
So Kristen, if you got declined the PPP online and said, maybe I did it wrong, you probably did. Because I've had clients get $500 on PPP.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get something. If you made money last year, you're going to get something, and you're going to get the whole darn thing forgiven. So, Tristan, I would go to a bank in the next 24 hours and go in person and apply. Yes, go somewhere else. Try it somewhere else. Okay, Josh, I cut you off. You didn't find one yet?
No, so that one thing you said there, when I applied for my PPP, I included my health insurance for myself. So
When you got the loan amount.
On the loan amount, but but on the forgiveness side, my personal health insurance isn't included.
That's right. They changed that rule. They gave you 24 weeks, but they took away health insurance.
Okay.
Well, that's a hit for Josh and I with large families with our medical insurance.
Yeah, but they're saying that you're going to make up for it in other ways because you have 24 weeks. So you may say, well, I want to get that forgiven. I was going to use health insurance premiums to get it forgiven. Well, they said, well, now you have 24 weeks. Go pay your rent to your commercial landlord. They'd rather have you pay rent and help out landowners and building owners than pay an insurance company. That's the difference in policy.
Okay, I see that. So I'm glad I was right on the calculation and getting the loan.
And Kimberly Colgan says, if you get PPP, can you still get the EIDL? And we're going to finish on that one. And the answer right up here at the top is yes, you can do both. And if John, back to our original example of 6,000 and something, if he got $1,000 grant, when we go to forget his forgiveness on his $6,000 and change, we're going to subtract out the 1,000 that he got over here, and now he'll have a $1,000 loan to the bank at 1% on a 2-year term. So whatever you took in a grant will be actually not forgiven under your PPP and turn into a 1% per annum loan with and they changed that to a 5-year term as well. I think there's a 3 and a 5-year term on that. Sorry. Read my article has the clarity. Okay, Jay.
And does your article, Mark, your article also talks about the easy application?
Oh yeah, and there's a link to it.
Okay, perfect, great.
Mm-hmm. And I think I'm just scanning the article right now, and I want to see if that video is in there too.
But we can look for you on YouTube, right? You got lots of videos over there.
Yeah, just YouTube Mark Kohler, PPP, and boom, we're there.
Great.
Okay, thanks for having me, guys. Mark, I'm sorry I can just keep talking here.
That's what we love about you.
Been such a resource for all of us here in Lab Coat Agents, and appreciate all you do for us, Mark.
Well, thank you, everybody. I love being here, and I'm going to ask of you because I want to give back, and we're busy. I'm not doing this to just sell you some package or whatever. Just get a consult with us for an hour. If you find other services here that we can help you with, fine. But I would ask of you to please talk to Tristan and the team and say, you know what, once a month, let's have Mark on. Once a month, because we could talk about paying your kids. Next month, we could talk about why do an escort before year end? Why buy a rental property? I mean, there are so many good topics, and I know Josh has been to so many of my workshops over the last 20 years that I know Josh looks a lot younger than that, but it's been a while. We've known each other. But anyway, just have me on once a month, and I hope, and when any of you see my name coming up on a webinar, please join. I promise you, it will make you money. Sometimes more than you'd ever get in a closing. So saving money.
I'm sure we can twist Tristan's arm and get you in here. So, well, perfect, Mark. Thank you so much. And Lab Coat Agents, if you haven't applied, get that done soon. And this will be, recording will be posted. And so, and then Mark, there's your phone number up there on the screen, 435-586-9366. If you want to get set up for a consult.
Yep. Any of the 5 tax attorneys are fine. You don't have to work with me. I've trained them for years, and be patient. It might be a week or so wait, but remember, you've got the rest of the year to get it forgiven. So, but don't wait till December. It's going to be a nightmare if you do, but just get a consult. No rush.
Awesome. Well,
thanks,
perfect, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks, Mel. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. Thank you.